you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, the things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever paid. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride. Been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
What's up, everybody?
Just announced he's coming to the Lakers.
The Lakers have landed LeBron.
LeBron James has signed on 4-year deal to become a member of the Lakers.
$154 million a max deal.
It's one of the biggest moves in NBA history, and without a doubt will change the entire landscape of the league.
Did you talk to LeBron James once the news came out? And if you did, what'd you say?
Magic brought the king to the kingdom. LA's now the home of LeBron. Got that purple and that gold robe on. Get your pinky fingers ready. Put that gold on. Put that gold on. Put that gold on. LA's now the home of LeBron. Put that gold on. Put that gold on. Get your pinky fingers ready. Get that gold on. 150 milli illy, about to get gritty. Been a second, bro, we smashing, this is our city. Authority when we speak, son. So take a knee, son. Respect the Lake Show Kingdom. We got some icons living, stay driven. Dunking on them so clean, they drip, drip, dripping. About to catch the whole league slipping. Let's welcome King James, the newest icon living. Magic brought the king to the kingdom. LA.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of All Sports All Play Network post-game show. Tonight, we are joined by none other than the great Freddie Henderson, the always brilliant Chris Brown, and welcoming back one more time, none other than Jay McLovin. And then tonight, we have another special guest, and his name is Justin. So, Jay McLovin and Justin, go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
All right, I'll go ahead and go first. Hey, I'm Jay McLovin. I'm from the Whiskey Hour, Game Changer Sports Network. We come on Tuesdays from 7 to 8 on Facebook and Twitch. And thank you again for having me. And hopefully it's not the last time, because I really do appreciate each and every one of you on this network.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, I'm Justin. Some people call me Just Blaze. I got a show, Above the Rim Podcast, comes out every Wednesday. Make sure y'all check that out, fellas. Thank you for the invite, man. I appreciate it, fellas. And let's get it rocking, man.
No problem. Glad to have you.
All right. So we all just got done watching that basically blowout between the Lakers and the Rockets. And I will give Freddie credit in this one. He did call it before the game started. He said this game is not going to even be close. So I will go ahead and I will start out with Freddie on this one. So, Freddie, your first question today is going to be, what is the biggest takeaway from this series between the Lakers and the Rockets?
You know, Chris is going to appreciate where I'm going with this. The biggest takeaway for me is, you know, there's a lot of talk that was going around the NBA all year. It started at the beginning of last year. You know, the Lakers by Christmas time was the number one team in the West with a young team, with a young Laker team. LeBron hurt is growing. They said he was too old. It went into the summertime. They said this dude cannot lead a team in the West. He's too old. It's too deep. You have Houston to worry about. You have Portland to worry about. The Clippers. You have everybody to worry about. And yet again, they doubted this dude. But what did he do? He led this team to the second round of the playoffs. Now we're with a Houston Rocket team. All I hear was Houston shoot too many threes. The Lakers can't match that on the three-point shot. LeBron can't do it. But what did he do? He showed the world why he is the king. He showed the world why he should have been the MVP. He showed the world why he's still the best player in the game. I mean, he's giving you 30 points a night, nearly averages a triple-double. This dude seemed like he could not miss a shot. I mean, he was hot from the three-point line. His mid-range shot was going. He was attacking the paint. He was finding other shooters. They shot, I believe, like 50% from the three-point line. Hit like, 17, 18 threes tonight? I mean, this team, if they continue this, and I'm not going further into the next topics, but if this team continue what they did, they showed this series, this would be a very dangerous team.
I'll give you credit, Freddie. The Lakers flat out balled in this game. They balled. They looked really good. All right. So now we'll go on to Chris Brown. Chris Brown, what was the biggest takeaway between the Rockets and Lakers?
I think he's got some mic issues.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I got you now.
The biggest takeaway to me in this series that the Lakers are by far the best team in the playoffs, the best team in the West, and just the best team in the league. Let's start off on defense. Everybody says the Clippers because they have the big name. They have the big names. You got Kawhi, Paul George, Pat Bev. That's nice. But when you look at the Lakers, they got the Rondos, the Carusos, the Caldwell Pope, the Danny Green, then the Kuzma. Then you look at their paint defense. The Clippers have no paint defense. You have Anthony Davis, you have Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. On the offensive end, they got the two best stars in the league. People do not give this Lakers team enough credit, and it's crazy because all the credit they give the Clippers, you know, they weren't the first seed with all them defenders, with all them role players, how everybody loved them. Nobody wants to show the Lakers no love. You know, I like how humble they are. They're just going to sit back, keep kicking everybody's butt, and go into the promised land.
All right, now we'll go to Jay McLovin.
All right. Hey, first off, hey, listen, you know, I'm a Rockets guy, and nothing ever sways me from them. And, you know, if I didn't believe my Rockets or at least stand by them, then I'd be a fair weather fan. I really did, you know, want them to win extremely hard tonight. But, hey, I take my hat off to the Lakers. I do, man. Hey, I take my hat off to the Lakers. You guys played well. Small ball, what I learned from tonight is small. Yeah, hey, I'll eat some humble pie, and I hope to God your mama made it because your mama's hot. But, hey, listen, hey, in all fairness, you know, hey, small ball doesn't win. It just doesn't, and I hope the Rockets make the necessary changes to address that. Outside of that, the Lakers, I've said it before, if the Rockets aren't going to win it, what I want to see is a Lakers-Celtics throwback game, and I think that'd be awesome. And with the Clippers, hey, if the Clippers can it goes through Paul George. That game's going to go through Paul George. If he shows up, then the Clippers have a chance against the Lakers. If Paul George stays a silent guy, then it's going to be Lakers all the way. And like I said, if the Rockets can't be in it, then my second favorite thing to watch on TV would be Lakers-Celtics, and that's how I'll end it.
So, Jay, I would say the one thing that I definitely agree with you on that is at the beginning of the series when it started, I honestly thought that the Lakers were not going to be able to keep up with the Rockets. I really did, but the Lakers proved to me that they flat out could. So now this time we'll go ahead and we'll go to Justin.
Yeah, man. Well, I hit y'all with a 2-for-1 because I had two takeaways. One on the Lakers side, really quick, was the Lakers were locked in, man. You could tell that from the get-go. Well, I wouldn't say from the get-go because game one, you know, LeBron always does his little feel-out game. You know, he does have a bad record in game one, so he did it once again, which I hate that he always does, but he does do it. A little feel-out game. So they were locked in, but they were paying attention, I would say, the game one. Then after that, you saw they did their homework. They did some film session. And you see they came out in game two with a much different mindset, better intensity. And I give credit to Frank Vogel for making a good coaching decision, checking out JaVale McGee in certain is it Markieff or Morris? I don't remember which Morris twin it is.
It's Markieff Morris.
All right, Markeith, yeah. So that was a good coaching adjustment by Vogel. But the Lakers were just locked in this series, man, especially from game 2 on. And on the Rockets side, my takeaway from them is no accountability. I've been saying that a lot on Twitter, and I've been saying it on my show as well. There's no accountability on the whole Rockets organization to me right now. Starting from the top on bottom. Daryl Morey, really quick, we know the moves that he made. Giving up CP and four first round pick swaps of Russ. In my opinion, that was a bad move. It was a downgrade, but they clearly they thought it was an upgrade. But as you can see now, they don't really fit well in the playoffs or play style. You know, their differences, obviously. D'Antoni for never being held accountable for his lack of adjustments in the playoffs. Never makes any adjustments year after year after year. Never makes adjustments in series, in game. And he doesn't hold his team accountable, the Rockets accountable for their lack of intensity, because this is a reoccurring theme for the Rockets. You see how they played today? Not as much energy as they should have in an elimination game. We saw last game they got smacked. So just no intensity from the Rockets. They have plenty of games like that. And then most importantly, James Harden. I don't think a lot of people are holding him accountable for his lack of production in big games. So you got to hold him accountable as well. So that's all I got, man.
All right, so one of our viewers just asked a question. Jason Barber just asked one, and I'm going to throw this question over to Justin. And so, Justin, your question is, it's actually about Russell Westbrook. And so the question is Russell Westbrook ever going to be the same? So as we saw in the series, he struggled. And so, you know, so he's wondering if Westbrook's going to go back to the old Westbrook again.
I personally don't think so. I believe he's 31 or 30, one of them, I think. And we know Russ relies on his athleticism and what he hasn't done. Two things: when you lose your athleticism, you have to gain two things: either a better jumper or a mid-range jumper, which he doesn't really have, or a three-point shot. And then two, in-game IQ. I think that his situational IQ isn't where it needs to be as a guard. So I think we've already seen the best that we've ever seen of Russell Westbrook. So now he's got to adapt his game.
Can I respond to that, Ace?
Yeah, yes, Freddie.
Why? You're a Lakers fan. Why would you even respond to this? It's a damn Rockets question. And Justin, I don't even know why you got that answer. Are you a Rockets fan?
No, I'm not a Rockets fan. No.
Then why did you even get that question? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, this
hurting over there.
Basketball question, because Russell Westbrook, I mean, he's the most athletic. He's the most athletic point guard that we've ever seen.
No.
Who is?
Derrick Rose. Did you not see Derrick Rose? I'm sorry.
Yeah, based on that,
I'm
that's
sorry.
why I say I don't even know why any of y'all got that damn question. But I'm gonna.
I have a good answer because I'm the unbiased one. But
all right, well, let me answer the question first, and then I'll let you get into it. You got to realize Russell Westbrook. This is his first year ever, like in a long time, being a number 2 as a guard. He's not used. I mean, he's coming off a team where he was the number 1. And so in Oklahoma City, when it was just him and Paul George, he could orchestrate the offense. He could have took over. And he was taking those big shots. Now you come to Houston, where this team is built around James Harden. You had Mike D'Antoni when he first got there. He gave the ball to Mike D'Antoni and said, hey, here, we're going to run the offense through you. Now you add a Russell Westbrook in there where he's used to getting the ball and just going crazy and putting up crazy stats every time. Well, the ball's not in his hand. And to me, I don't think it's going to work perfect because just like Justin said, he cannot shoot. When James Harden kicked the ball over to him on the three-point line, he expects James Harden to shoot, and that's not him. They played better together when James Harden stopped settling for threes and he attacked the paint more. But, you know, that's just, like I said, that's a coaching adjustment. We'll get into that later on in the show.
All right, so I'm going to give Jay McLovin a chance to rebuttal on this since he's the Rockets fan.
He's not a Rockets fan. He's just I believe he goes to anybody that's winning.
Really? That's how you feel?
I've
been with the Rockets in the days before you were ever born, Freddie. I remember back to a time when Robert Reed Ralph Sampson, Hakeem Olajuwon, McRae, and you want to talk about what?
I'm just trying to get you fired up.
Hey, I remember back to a day when Mitchell Wiggins was their one of their big players. So don't even tell me about the Rockets when I've been with them since 1976 before you were even born. Shut your damn disrespectful ass mouth.
I like to see you get fired up.
Hold on. Now I'm gonna go on to Russell Westbrook since y'all wanted to go to Justin for the love of God and Freddie for the love of God. Why would even go to them? I don't even understand it. It's not even their damn team. So shut your damn mouths. Now, Russell Westbrook. Look, we tried going through Russell. When Russell's on, it was great. But at the end of the day, I gotta agree with Freddie. And like I've always said, and I've always been leery of, is that it's hard to go with a team that is offensive minded and not defensive minded. Even though their team was the number one defense in the league, their coach was still offensive minded and believed in small ball. And as you can see, this game was dominated in the paint. And it is what it is. And you got what you got. And it doesn't matter what Russell Westbrook did. It doesn't matter what Harden did. It only matters what happens in the paint. And they lost it in the paint, and it is what it is. And hopefully the Rockets can get rid of D'Antoni and get rid of and not get rid of anybody else. Just get rid of D'Antoni and bring in a center. Give me somebody. Give me Giannis. He's going up, next year? Let's trade for him. Let's do something that can bring this team back to fruition.
He's begging. Get it to him. He's begging.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next questions.
Hold on. Chris wanted to rebuttal.
Oh, Chris, did you want to rebuttal?
I just wanted to say one thing. When I look at the Rockets roster, I know they don't have no picks, and they really don't have no assets to trade, but they wanted to go out and get one player that I feel like would work for them is Miles Turner. He's a big guy, the center that plays defense and loves to shoot. He doesn't like to be in the paint that much like other centers do. He loves to be out there and shooting threes. I don't know how they're going to do it, but if they wanted the center to be in that offense, I'm going out and I'm trying to get Miles Turner from Indiana.
One rebuttal to that, to what he just said. We have the asset. We have assets to trade for Giannis. It's just, are they willing to trade those assets? And that's hopefully what we'll find out hopefully next year. That is number one. Number two, hey, Sheila.
Oh, man.
You're really Hey, Sheila. I'm Jason, and I'm available.
All right, so the next question, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start out with Chris Brown on this one. So, Chris Brown, can Houston continue to play this small ball year in and year out?
I think they can play it, but it can't be their main lineup. You know, they have to find a way to get a big on the court because there's going to be times where teams just driving the paint and dominating the paint, and they need somebody to protect the paint. But can it work? Yes. We've seen at times it works, and they go on runs after runs after runs after runs. You got Robert Covington who locks in on defense. PJ Tucker locks in on defense. You know, Eric Gordon, everybody talks about him, but dude's strong. He's going to go lock in on defense. Then you got Russ and James. Now, like I said, I truly think it could work. James, they had to double team him as soon as he stepped over to half court. You know, Russell Westbrook, when he's on, it works. But they just have to make adjustments in that roster. But can they end games with small ball? I believe so. I mean, I don't think game one.
Wait a minute. Chris, I got you, man. That's not necessarily true. It works in the regular season. I'll give you that. It works in the regular season. But damn it, even as a Rockets fan since 1976, I realize what it is. It doesn't work in the postseason. They did in game one, and maybe it's because LeBron James is a feeler guy. And if he's a feeler guy, well, he felt it. And what he felt is what happened. And they lost it after that. Now, listen.
I'm not saying it's the main lineup. It's a lineup you can put in a game and it can work. I'm not saying you going to start the game and end the game. I'm saying in the playoffs, I feel like they can go on a run with that lineup.
But Chris,
you got to run with that lineup?
Chris, you got to state that. You believe that lineup can work in a regular season game, but not necessarily to win a series in the playoffs, correct?
Not as the main lineup. No, I'm talking about if you find it big.
Well, hell, what else lineup do they have?
But it also depends on matchups, too. Remember, it also depends on matchups and who they matching up with.
Bullshit.
Look how they played against bigs like OKC. You see, they could beat those kind of bigs.
Because if you don't go against like if they don't have a dominant big, then it's going to work. But when you go against dominant bigs and LeBron James, then that's when you're going to need
that can move.
That's when you're going to need the center.
And that's my point. So if the Rockets could somehow trade for Giannis or somebody of his stature, even Joel Embiid, whatever,
you're not getting those.
Miles Turner is the guy. He's not going to. You're not going to get a Giannis or a
and I
Jordan
get that.
Embiid
I'm just using it as an example. You could bring any number of big men that could fill that role. That could fill that role in the right way. And now you're competing with the Lakers, right? If you got somebody, because they got outscored in the paint. And if you got outscored in the paint, you got somebody that's got to deflect that. Now, they had that in Capella, but they got rid of Capella.
Time out, Jason.
Okay. I gotta give Freddie a chance to rebuttal on this. So, Freddie, you go ahead and say what you got to say.
All I got to say is you said they can compete with the Lakers. You act like we just have big men. And here you go, yet again, disrespecting LeBron James. We still have LeBron James.
Disrespecting LeBron.
You still have LeBron James, so we're not just dominant because of our big men we have. We're dominant because we have LeBron James. I mean,
you're dominant because you got Anthony Davis.
You see, and we've seen what happened tonight. Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge AD fan. AD is the dude, but
you're right.
But he had an off night.
But did we see what he did tonight?
He had an off night.
30.
Without LeBron,
he scored 30 tonight.
No, he scored 13 points, sir.
He had an off night.
Yeah, and without LeBron, maybe
it was
okay. Devil's advocate. Will LeBron have won this series without AD?
I still say they would have won this series
without Anthony Davis.
Yes,
it would have won this series.
It would have took 7.
I mean, I think he could have pulled it off in 7, maybe.
And it'd have been tough. I would have said.
No, it would have been tough.
Anthony Davis was a huge factor. Like
he was a huge.
The bottom line is they had two guys that were bigs that controlled that paint. And the bottom of the line is they control the paint. They control the paint from game number 2 to game number 5. They control the paint, and that's what it was. Either one.
I want to answer the question to Chris. Chris, I believe the Lakers would have still won without Anthony Davis, but it would have took 7 games to do it. And you take away Anthony Davis, that's a huge piece away from this team. But it creates more opportunities to release. I keep saying it. They release Kyle Kuzma and let him get shots, put him in that starting lineup. I'm not going to say he become a star, but he can become a scorer, and he can help on that end. I believe.
Even without Davis, you still had McGee and you still had Dwight Howard. There were 7-footers that are very capable of controlling the paint and getting rebounds.
They're not going to really play much because of the small ball.
No, but you understand what I'm saying. They can still get rebounds. They can still block shots.
Right. And then you got then LeBron. We've seen LeBron on the team by himself a few years ago when Jason Tatum and boys took him to a game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and LeBron was playing with basically a bunch of scrubs that didn't belong on the Cavaliers at the time. And what did LeBron do? LeBron put them on his back, carried them, and won. It took them to the finals. So, yes.
Right. And I guess to your point, what I'm saying to your point is, as a Rockets fan, coming into this game is what I learned after game 1, and I have to give you Freddie, I got to give you credit for that, is that small ball, like I believed in Phoenix when D'Antoni was with Phoenix, small ball is as simple as it is. Yeah, I'm eating some humble pie, no doubt. And I'm going to continue to eat humble pie until the equation of control the paint can become a priority for the Rockets. And right now, small ball just didn't do that for us, and you guys control the paint. At the end of the day, you guys won this series because you controlled the paint. And until the Rockets can get somebody of stature to control the paint, they're not going to win anything. It just is what it is. And I accept that.
Okay, so Freddie, to answer the question on the small ball, yes or no? They can continue or they have to stop?
I'm with Chris. They can work, but it depends on who you're playing. Like, I would have liked to see the small ball lineup against Golden State a few years ago. I believe that it would have worked then. But you're playing against, like Chris said, a Laker team where you have Anthony Davis. Even though you took one of your centers out, you do have Anthony Davis at the 5, so to make the Lakers a little bit more faster, a little bit more threat on the offensive side as well, because you have to insert a Markieff Morris who knocked down big threes tonight. But it just depends on the matchup, who you're playing against. I would have loved to see this team going against a Golden State Warriors team and see what the outcome would have been then.
All right, we'll go to Justin. Justin, can the Rockets continue to play the small ball, or do they have to change it up?
I agree with both of them. It can slightly work, but it has to adapt. Like you can't play no centers throughout the game. Like they at least if they don't want to start a center, at least have a center coming off the bench. Like you brought up Miles Turner, I think that was a great option. If they want to get even cheaper for some good production, Nerlens Noel is a good free agent. I think that will be solid in our Rockets lineup because he could run the floor, he could block shots, he could catch alleys, he could do the same thing that Clint Capella also did at a cheaper price because he was at a minimum deal. So I think they should look into a guy like Nerlens Noel or maybe a Jeremy Grant over there.
Yeah,
They can't really get
Jeremy Grant. I like that Jeremy Grant one. I think he's going. I think he might be more expensive than Noel, but I do like that Jeremy Grant.
They got to trade. They got to trade somebody for him, but I think that's something that you can get done. Like that's not out of the. Denver has too many guys anyway, so they'll be willing to come off some of those forwards. So they got to think a little bit lower. They can't be thinking Giannis because they're not getting Giannis. Not happening.
Hey, let's be honest. You can't bring Golden State into it when they got an all-star, perennial all-star in every position. That's not small ball. That's ridiculous.
I mean, what about Draymond? They could even call Golden State. What's up with Draymond if he's available?
Hey,
they're gonna need a lot. They're gonna that might take some players now. I'm gonna be honest. That's gonna take some players.
Everybody should be on the market for the Rockets.
Yeah.
Nobody's untouchable.
I think Nerlens Noel might be a pretty good shot, though.
So before we go on to the next question, we have two people who have asked questions or actually made a statement. So we'll go to Jason Barber, and then we'll start with so I'll send this question to Jay McLovin, and he says, are the Heat the Lakers' biggest threat left in the playoffs? And we'll go to Jay McLovin.
No, not at all, because let me tell you something about Boston. Boston's got Tatum, Brown, Kemba Walker. I mean, come on. These dudes, they got Smart. I mean, these dudes are loaded. And of course, I think Hayward is expected to come back into the rotation at the height. Man, listen, I give my hats off to Miami. Miami is a scrappy little team, but I don't think they're ready for what the Lakers are ready to throw down. And I'm putting Boston right now coming out of that series. But I think that series is going to go to 7 games for sure.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Chris this one. This is more of a statement that Nate was saying. So Nate said that he would rather have 5 guys put up 10 points instead of having one guy scoring 30 when the rest also have 0. So would you agree on that statement?
I don't know. If this is how I look at it. So you talking about you got a main guy like a James Harden doing his thing. Nobody else is scoring. I'd rather just, personally, I'd probably just take the main guy getting 30 because at least I know he's going to guard and get buckets.
Okay. Freddie, what's your take on that?
I kind of want to rebuttal on the other
okay.
statement.
I do too, kind of.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. So Freddie, you can rebuttal on the first one first, then we'll go to Chris Brown.
I mean, are we just talking about playoffs or are we talking about the finals matchup?
We're talking about playoffs. Are they the biggest threat left to the Lakers?
Well, let's not disrespect the Clippers like this. I mean, this next round, if the Clippers make it to the next round, this is the matchup everybody's been waiting for. Me personally, I'm not going to get too deep into the subject because that's what's coming up in the conversation. But just being said that this Clippers team is going to be the next challenge for the Lakers. And after the Clippers, if they beat the Lakers, if the Lakers beat the Clippers, I believe the road will get a little bit easier for the Lakers.
The fact that Henderson is ready to concede that there actually could be a Clippers beating the Lakers. Freddie, you earned about 15 points of respect because you actually acknowledged that theory. So thank you for acknowledging that. 15 points to you.
All right, so Chris Brown, you wanted to rebuttal on that one also. So
I wanted to say, the biggest threat left in the playoffs for the Lakers are the Clippers, and then I'm not going to go too in depth of it, but when I look at the Heat in the Boston series, I'm taking Miami. Miami has guys just like Boston has guys, and if one of those, main Boston guys isn't performing, they're going to lose. Like you seen Jaylen Brown was struggling game after game. They lost 2 straight games. With Miami, anybody can go up for 20. They got 7 guys that can get 20 points in that team. I think Miami's going to come out the Eastern Conference.
All right. So thank you for that. Before we move on, Justin, was there anything else you wanted to say on the subject?
Well, really quick, I agree with Chris. I think Miami's a bit in the East. I feel like Miami's the biggest threat to the Lakers. In the West, obviously, it's the Clippers. I think they're the biggest threat. But in the East, I do like the Heat. I like how they play defense, very scrappy, and most importantly, they're well coached. So I'm a big guy on coaching in the playoffs because coaches make adjustments in the playoffs, which can win a series. So to me, Coach Spo is elite. Top 3 coach in the league for me personally. So I really like the Heat's chances. Brad Stevens is good too, but I'm going with Coach Spo.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Justin? Because to me, this coach do not get a lot of credit because he's coached by LeBron, but we have Frank Vogel who's coaching the Lakers, and obviously he outcoached Mike D'Antoni this series to me.
But that's not hard though. That's not hard, brother.
But he was the one that was willing to make adjustments, go away from the way that they normally like to play. Where do you rank Frank Vogel? I see you had Spoelstra as number 3. Where do you rank Frank Vogel?
In the NBA as a whole?
Yes, I'm talking about as of this year.
Oh, this year? I'll give him top 5 to 7. I still think there are a couple of coaches above him that I would have that I definitely would take above him. But for what he was working with, first year with the team, first year coaching a guy like LeBron, he could have been a little soft like David Blatt and not really, make his own moves or make his own stamp. But I think he did a good job, and it looks like they listen to him really well. He makes adjustments. He has their respect. So I would say he top 5 to 7. I would say I got to go on the list, but top 5 to 7, I would say. That sounds about right.
All right. So, Freddie, the next question will come to you. We'll go ahead and start out with you on this one. And will Mike D'Antoni be the head coach of the Houston Rockets next year?
Man, he probably will, but he don't deserve to be. And when I say that is because I'm looking at how the coaching market is right now. You have an Alvin Gentry that got fired. And this them from a Pelicans team that was playing really good basketball before the season got paused. You have a Nate McMillan who took a team through the bubble with his best players not there, not healthy, and he lost his job. You seen what happened with Billy Donovan and OKC. Yes, they say that they parted ways, but usually it means he didn't want to hear his name being fired. So I mean, they parted ways for a reason. But honestly, it comes a time where Mike D'Antoni had to be held accountable. For the last couple of years, the dude is great offensively, but you have to do something on the defensive side. And if you take away Mike D'Antoni, the next coach going to come in there. He's going to bring his personnel in there, the players that he want to be around him. And I believe the small ball is going to go away. And if he is gone, I'm going to tell you the names that I would like to see as be the next head coach: Ty Lue, Mark Jackson. I don't know why Mark Jackson does not have a job.
He's blackballed from the league, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
For him. He's really blackballed. That's why he doesn't have a job.
Yeah, the dude is a great offensive. Like you hear him talking, he's a good offensive-minded coach and a defensive coach, and that's what the Lakers need. They need somebody to pump some blood in their heart, get them to compete on the defensive side, and then they'll be a decent team.
All right, so Chris Brown. So one thing for you, the first one is, will Mike D'Antoni be the head coach of the Rockets next year? And number 2, I've been a Donovan fan for a while. So do you think he would be a perfect fit for this Rockets team if Mike D'Antoni is not there?
All right, well, for the first part, I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate to what Freddie said. When I look at this Rockets team, like, you can say they're underachieved, but were they ever really the favorites in the playoffs? You went against a historic Warriors team. I'm talking about they had the best team. Oh, you can argue of all time, 2 straight years when they got KD. Were they really favored to win those series? I mean, you got Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond, year after year after year. This year, you got you going against the Lakers, who are the favorite to win. So, like, were they really favored to win any of the playoff series that they lost to? They lost to some great teams. It's not like they lost to any scrubs. They didn't get kicked out of the first round. They lost to some great teams. So I think they might bring him back just for that. And if he does, get fired, I don't like Billy Donovan as the coach. I like Billy Donovan, but I feel like, like Freddie said, you got to get somebody that's going to go in there and really hold them 2 guys accountable really put pressure on them to be as great as possible. Not saying that they aren't great, but you need somebody there that's going to push them and kind of change up the culture a little bit.
I want to rebuttal to that real quick before you let the others go. It's not about them losing to the Lakers. That's how you lose. I mean, you don't not tonight because James Harden, he stepped up to the plate tonight. But the other night, the dude shot 2 for 11 or something. He shot the ball horrible. I mean, this just like I said, you have to hold this team accountable. Not Donovan Mitchell, Nate, Billy Donovan, the OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder old coach. The other night, I mean, then Russell Westbrook, you need to get that dude more involved. The dude played 36 minutes, only gave you 10 points. Really, you need to get him more involved. And that's coaching. I believe this team is not coached well. Mike D'Antoni do not like making adjustments. If he makes adjustments, that's the only problem. That's the only knock, other than playing defense, that this dude did not make adjustments. He believed whatever game plan that he brings in game 1, he's going to stick with it to game 7, and until it start works. And that's the problem. They need a coach that needs to make adjustments. I'll never forget when he was coaching the Lakers, he did not believe in defense. And, he'd keep calling sets, and Kobe would change it because this dude did not believe in defense. And Kobe was like, no, we run it this way. So I don't believe the dude should be a coach, be a coach there at all. Me personally, I think somebody else is deserving. I think it's time for a reboot.
All right, Jay McLovin, it comes to you. Will Mike D'Antoni be the head coach of the Rockets next year?
Here's my thing. Like I said to you earlier in the conversation, I didn't like D'Antoni when he first came. I actually liked the previous coach,
McHale.
In the previous lineup that we had Capella and Paul. I think, honestly, currently, if we had the same lineup with Capella and Paul that we had against Golden State team that Chris talked about, we wouldn't be here. They're talking about anything. We would have already beaten the Lakers, and we'd be going on to the Clippers, straight up. No, watch this. Now, Henderson, I want you to think about this for a minute, and I want you to let this sink in because it's serious business, right? We took Golden State to Game 7, and we lost it only because Chris Paul wasn't in Game 7. And Chris Brown, you understand that fact, and but I'm talking about
I know.
the truth.
I thought they should have won that. They Chris Paul was out.
My point is this. Yeah. My point is this. We went against the mighty Durant, Curry, Green, Thompson, and every other bench player that they had, and we took them all the way to Game 7. What the hell and I'm saying hell with the lack of a few of the curse words that I want to say, but I'm respecting the rule number 2, and I bit my tongue on this. But if we can take the Golden State Warriors at their best, the one that beat LeBron James and smacked him down like the ant he was, in a better prime shape that he was in. We took them Game 7 without Chris Paul, one of our leaders on our team. What could we have done with that same lineup against this weak LA team? Because think about it. I say weak. I say weak in 2 fashions. Number 1, you got Anthony Davis. You got LeBron James. But after that, you have a few lackadaisical role players, not all-star perennials, but you got role players. But in Golden State, you had all of them at the peak of each and every one of their positions, and Seth Curry. And we took them to Game 7 with that lineup. There's no way in hell that same lineup doesn't take you guys all the way to the championship series, straight up. And if you look at the facts, and if you look at the players they went against, you'll see the facts support that. And Chris Brown, I'm pretty sure you believe in that.
Yeah, that's what I just said, basically.
So, Chris, you agree with him? You say with Chris take Westbrook and Chris Paul.
With Chris Paul, I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Lakers. I'll say they take them to 7. But what I'm saying is that team right there, that was a very good team. Like, they weren't the favorite going against arguably the best team ever assembled with all those Hall of Famers, all those All-Stars. Yet they took them to 7.
Okay, we agree. We agree.
All right. So, Jay McLovin, I don't think you kind of answered the question in a
I'm
way.
sorry,
You
I
did.
probably didn't.
Yeah. So the question was, will Mike D'Antoni be the coach for the Rockets next season?
No, you know what? God, do I want him? Will he be the coach? Most likely, probably yes. They'll probably give him another year. Do I think he should be the coach next year? Hell no. I would fire that son of a bitch this year, and I would bring in Billy Donovan, and I would start looking for trades to bring in a big man to go along with that, to go compliment Harden, and let's give these guys a real showdown. So, yeah, I think that, in my opinion, I think that the head coach should be fired. Let's bring in Donovan or even Chauncey Billups. I'll give him a shot. But let's get somebody else a shot along with a big man to complement Harden and Westbrook, and let's go after it.
All right. We'll go to Justin. Do you believe that Mike D'Antoni will be the head coach?
I'm just gonna say he shouldn't be the head coach. I think he should definitely be going to me personally because it's just the same old tune every year. Like I said before, no accountability. You need a coach in there that's gonna hold everybody accountable. The fact that he allows and lets and sometimes encourages James Harden to be off the ball with no type of movement at all when he doesn't have the ball is a problem right there. And the fact that he doesn't even scold him or say anything to change that throughout a game, throughout a series is to me is unacceptable as a coach. And I know you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So D'Antoni is kind of stubborn with it, but they need a coach in there that's going to force James Harden to play another way. He doesn't fully have to change his game, but he has to show more effort when he doesn't have the ball. He can't be stagnant. He can't be standing there at half court. He's not the same type of shooter in the way that Steph is. He's more of an on-ball shooter. So him being a decoy at half court, to me, doesn't really make sense. And now it allows the defense to exactly sag off, and you're playing 4-on-5, basically. So they need a coach in there that's going to tell James, I need you to play off ball because he's going to be there. It's not like they can move him, and Russ is going to be there. So they're going to have to find a way to figure it out. And I don't think D'Antoni's the guy. And if he stays there, it's a mistake. And it's going to be the same shit again.
All right. So
that's a good take. That's a real good take.
So with you talking about that, Justin, between Mike D'Antoni and James Harden, talking about how Mike D'Antoni doesn't ask James Harden to change anything. So in your eyes, should most of the blame be on James Harden or should most of the blame be on Mike D'Antoni?
For the series or
for the series and these previous losses, who would you, because a lot of people put a lot of blame on James Harden saying he chokes in the big games, and he can't do it. But do you put a lot of the blame on Mike D'Antoni or James Harden?
Well, for this particular series, I didn't think they were gonna win anyway. So it's not. I'm not really blaming either one of them. I honestly knew they were gonna lose this series because it's the same old tune with them in particular. But I would give, if I had to put a percentage on it, like out of 100 between the two, I might go 60-40 with more James. More James at 60 because. Because if you look at, it consistently in big moments, not just games, moments, James Harden is not there. I told you the stat early. He already has eight playoff games shooting under 20%. 8 playoff games, and 6 out of those 8, I believe, were elimination games. So elimination games, we saw it again tonight. He played semi-decent tonight, but it was no real energy. It was no hunger out of him from the get-go. So James Harden is the starter team, and to me, he's got to take accountability for him not showing up in those big moments and him being the leader that he's supposed to be and galvanizing your teammates. Because look, if you could name me a big time playoff James Harden moment, talk to me. Other than that one in OKC when against the San Antonio Spurs, he had a nice series. Give me one playoff James Harden moment that was great that any of y'all can remember. One.
All right, so Jay McLovin, I'm going to give you a chance to rebuttal on this one since you are a Rockets fan. I want to know, who would you, as a Rockets fan, put the most blame on?
Look like we just take him off of the
All right. So, I guess while we're waiting for him to come back.
Can I answer that question?
Huh? Yeah. Go ahead and answer the question.
To me, and I agree with you, Justin. I've been saying it for the longest. James Harden has choked in big games. This dude is a no-show. You can't find him when he says time to step up. But everybody knew the Lakers were going to win this series. It was. I mean, everybody. The Lakers is the far-gone favorites. I put the blame on Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni with the small ball lineup. You knew the Lakers were big. So why would you make a trade for a Clint Capella in the middle of the Smith season? And
James has to okay that though. Remember that too.
Right, I understand that. But I mean you should have known that you would have to face against this Laker team sometime in the playoffs. So I believe that like you said, James Harden do have to okay because I mean they running through him. So I mean they all have a blame to it, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody accountable, man.
All right, Chris Brown, do you have anything to say on that or not?
I'm gonna just say I kind of blame D'Antoni more because in playoffs you have to make adjustments. You know, even if your star player plays bad, we didn't see star players play bad, and coaches still make adjustments and win games. D'Antoni is studying his ways. He won't make adjustments. He think other coaches making adjustments is fear out of them that they're going to lose to him, but in all actuality, he just put himself in a hole. D'Antoni gets most of the blame. I understand James Harden might not be the best in the playoffs, but he didn't have some good playoff games. It's not like he's averaging 10. You know, I will say I think his
Give
game.
Give me a moment.
I'm not a Rockets fan, so I don't watch that. I mean, I can give you Sixers moments.
I mean, anybody could think of one. Any moment he's had.
But most of the blame to me goes to not Harden. I kind of put most of the blame in the coach, and I want to hear McLovin because he's the Rockets guy.
All right, so McLovin, go ahead and give your take. Do you blame mostly on Harden or D'Antoni?
Man, my bad. I had a few technical difficulties there when I came out. Look, guys, you can blame Harden all you freaking want, but is he the player or is he the damn coach? You blame leadership. It's always freaking leadership. Coach,
D'Antoni not playing, man.
You put all no. I'm sorry. I'm military. I'm old school. You put it on leadership. Leadership starts with the coach, and it goes its way down. Harden has never been a leader since day one. We all understand that. That's why I tell you, when Chris Paul was there, he was the leader of that team, and Harden went along with it. And we took away Chris Paul, you took away the leadership of that team. So the onus falls on one person, and it falls on D'Antoni. D'Antoni makes the style of offense. He dictates the plays. And ultimately, Harden is a puppeteer of those plays. And Harden's never been a leader, and we always understand that. He has great skill sets, great skill, but he's not a leader. And the leader of that team always falls on D'Antoni. And D'Antoni should have known better. He should have known better to know that small ball ultimately doesn't work. And the onus of this failure doesn't fall on Harden. It falls on D'Antoni.
Hey, Jay McLovin, I know you was gone. You missed my point, but I agree. But also, I said it had to fall on Daryl Morey as well for allowing.
Oh yeah, I get you that, and I give you that. You're right, because and again, that goes with my saying of leadership, right? So that goes all the way up to what Morey, because Morey is the general manager, and he's the one that hired D'Antoni. Honestly, he should have never hired D'Antoni. That was the worst mistake he ever made. He should have stayed, number one, with the original coach that he had.
McHale.
Who was it?
Kevin McHale.
No, not Kevin McHale. Who was the one from Sacramento? He was from Sacramento. Oh, God, I can't think of his name right offhand.
I thought McHale was the last coach before D'Antoni.
No, it wasn't the last coach. There was a coach in between McHale, and I know what you're talking about.
Bernie Bickerstaff, I think.
No, it wasn't Bickerstaff. There was a coach in between McHale.
Yeah, after McHale got fired, I think it was Bickerstaff. He was like the interim coach for a little bit, I think.
Either way, all I'm saying is this: when the Rockets had Harden and Capella, when Capella was in the middle and Chris Paul was leading it, that was the best team they ever had.
Mike D'Antoni.
It was Bickerstaff. Sorry to cut you off.
It wasn't Bickerstaff. The guy that was actually coaching that team was an older guy.
I got the list right here. That's what I'm saying. I googled it. It was Kevin McHale.
All right, let me ask you this question: who was before? Okay, you got McHale, Bickerstaff, and then you got D'Antoni. Who was before McHale?
It was Rick Alderman.
Thank you. And that, oh God, that's like such a relief. Rick Alderman. That's the guy I'm thinking of. When they had Rick Alderman, that was the best time ever because Alderman is the one that took them against the Golden State Warriors. That was their coach, and that was the best they've ever been. Was when Rick Alderman was their coach, and Harden was on that team. So was Chris Paul, and that was the best they've ever had. And if they would have had that team could have beaten the Lakers. That team could have beaten the Lakers.
Jay McLovin. Chris Paul wasn't on that team. I don't believe Harden.
I believe he was. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. It was Kevin McHale. Rick Alderman was 2007 to 2011. McHale was 2011 to 15. JB Bickerstaff was 15 to 16.
I might be a little backwards. Either way, though, but both of those coaches. Okay, watch this. It doesn't matter. The players stayed the same. The coaches may have changed, but I agree with both of those coaches. Whether you had Alderman or whether you had McHale, you still had the same lineup, right? And that lineup was under Capella at the center and Paul at the point guard. And if it was McHale, I apologize.
Mike D'Antoni was the coach then.
Nah, D'Antoni. Chris Paul only played with D'Antoni.
Yeah, it was D'Antoni.
No, are you sure?
Yeah.
He only was there 2 years.
So Patrick Beverly.
No, I like that team better. That team was better. I don't mean to cut you off, but in my opinion, that team was better. You had Pat Bev, Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, Eric Gordon. You had a lot of firepower.
Better than what team?
Better the next team.
So Capella left.
Chris Paul?
Yeah, I would take that team over there.
You're bugging out.
Right, given that, either way, they still had Capella. Watch this. They still had Capella at the center, right? Mm-hmm. And that's my point. Okay, if D'Antoni was there, then D'Antoni was there. But it's still the team itself with Capella and Paul and Harden, and Gordon, and then they had the other green, not
Dwight was there. You're forgetting Dwight was there also.
Yes, and I think Howard, you're right. I believe he was there. But that team could have beaten the Lakers.
No, sir.
Whatever.
Okay.
That team.
Sir.
All right, so I got to go ahead and I got to cut you guys off there. So since we have 8 minutes left, we have 2 topics left. So with this, I'm going to give you each a minute on each of these topics, but we'll go ahead on this one and we will start with Jay McLovin. You get a minute to start out with on this topic, and the question is, how will this loss affect James Harden and Russell Westbrook?
All right, roger that. Okay. After this, if the Rockets are smart, they'll let go of their head coach and bring on Donovan or somebody else that has a big man's personality, or at least a big man in the center that can control the paint type philosophy. Donovan and whoever that may be, Chauncey Billups, whoever's out there that believes in that philosophy would be best. Harden, Westbrook, Harden's going to stay there. He ain't going nowhere. Westbrook would be the guy that if they could deal would have the most leverage in dealing with a trade. My opinion or my hopes is that they keep Harden, which they will, and that they package Westbrook along with other people to bring in a big like Giannis or whatever else out there that may be available to bring in, and pair that up with Donovan or any other center-minded coach to take them all the way. But currently, with the current staff that they have, it's not going to get it done. It didn't get it done then. It's not going to get it done now. And they've got to bring in a big, and they got to bring in a defensive-minded coach.
All right, so now I'll go to Freddie Henderson. You have a minute on this topic. How is this going to affect James Harden and Russell Westbrook?
Man, what I'm about to say is about to be crazy. I'm about to have everybody coming at me. Time after time, year after year, Russell Westbrook and James Harden, they always come up short in the playoffs. And it's somebody always giving them a pass. Nobody hold them accountable, like Justin said. It took Giannis Antetokounmpo a few years of not showing up in the playoffs for somebody to call him out. I think it's time to call James Harden out. I don't believe the dude can be a number one dude on a team to take you to a championship. If I'm Houston, you have to hold him accountable. Either you get him the coach and you give him the big man or whatever to win it, or I might package him off to do a complete reboot and Russell Westbrook right behind him. It's time for a reboot. Year after year after year, they cannot climb the hill, and they've yet to show improvement in my eyes.
Yeah. I actually agree with it. Man, I didn't think that would ever happen. Me and Henderson on the same page? Holy crap. Yeah, before Chris Brown gives his take and stuff, I agree with you, man. I'm down for a reboot. I would mind packaging personally Harden and Westbrook to bring in Giannis and Chris Paul, and let's see what we can do.
All right.
Please go get them plays.
All right, so now we'll go ahead and we'll go to Chris Brown. So, Chris Brown, how's this going to affect James Harden and Russell Westbrook?
I mean, personally, they just going to take it on the chin and get ready for next season. I mean, like, they're ready to get ready to next season and try this thing again, whether it's with D'Antoni or not, whether it's with this roster or not, even whether, I don't think if you were to trade one, I think Russell Westbrook will be the first one to go. I think James will be the last to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a complete rebuild. But these guys are going to take this on the chin, get ready for next year, and go out and try to compete again next year. I think James Harden thinks in his mind, just like Russell Westbrook, they're just one guy away. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to stay 10 toes on this. They somehow get their hands on Miles Turner. That's a scary team. But they're getting ready for next season. It's not going to affect them. Everybody can do all the talking, but they're locked in.
All right. We'll go ahead and go to Justin on this one. How is this going to affect them?
I don't think it's going to affect them at all, but I don't think they're going to be locked in. And that's my problem with James Harden really in particular. I don't think he's going to really be affected like differently by this loss. And to me, that's one of my issues with him is that when he does have a big series loss, he's not as affected by it as some other players. Some players really go into summer, they get really angry, they get really hungry, and they come back into the next season ready to kill. Sometimes he's like that, and sometimes he's not. Sometimes you never know what kind of James Harden you're going to get. But he does, in the regular season, you already know. He's going to do whatever he's supposed to do. He's going to carry his team. He's a phenomenal player. He can carry a team. He can't do that by himself. But always talk about them big moments. He needs another guy behind him that's going to hold him accountable and be the one because he has a tendency to shrivel up mentally. I don't think it's physically or nothing like that. I just think it's mentally. He just has a tendency to just shrivel up or tighten up in those pressure moments. And as much as he probably will say he doesn't let outside noise get to him, I don't really believe it. I feel like he does hear a little bit of outside noise about him not being able to get it done. And that to me is why he maybe tenses up. And that to me is why I also would hold him accountable, because Chris Paul was that dude to tell him, listen, man, we need to do this. We need to change up this. We need to do this. And he didn't like that. So he'd rather play more comfortable rather than play uncomfortable. And sometimes you got to play uncomfortable in order to win a championship. Everybody who's won a championship had to play a little bit uncomfortable. You look how the Warriors, Steph was a little uncomfortable. He had to take a step back. KD had to be the lead. Every championship is something different. So, and until he plays uncomfortable, they're going to be going down the first, second round every year.
So do you believe that James Harden can be the best player on a championship team?
He can if he has the proper number two. See, to me, I think CP3 was the proper number two for him, because to me, they were like a yin and yang. What James Harden didn't bring to the table, CP brought to the table. He brought that dog, that intensity, that smart, that intelligence, the person who would actually make an adjustment in game, because we know James Harden not making no adjustments either. So he needed a player like that. It's just because they didn't want to, I would say him and D'Antoni also didn't want to adapt the play style. And that to me was ultimately why it was their downfall. But I think James Harden doesn't need a whole lot. You get what I'm saying? He can still be the same player that he is, but he has to adapt his game. It's more so about him more than what's around him. That's why I'm holding him accountable.
All right, so before we get to the last topic, Freddie has an exciting clip that he wants to show everybody. So go ahead, Freddie.
Well, I'm not going to say it's exciting.
God, you better not play what I think you're going to play, but go ahead.
I'm not going to say it's exciting, but it's going to introduce what I think is going to happen next week, an introduction.
Go ahead. Roll
Game
clip.
2 of our doubleheader from Disney. The NBA tonight on TNT is presented by State Farm. The LA Clippers are number 2 in the Western Conference, and the Los Angeles Lakers are number 1 and number 2 overall in the NBA, and back of the Milwaukee Bucks. Hi, everyone. Kevin Harlan with the Hall of Famer Reggie Miller. And Reg, we have a myriad of great storylines going into this new season. What are some of the headlines that have caught your eye so far?
Well, tonight, all eyes are on this Hollywood star power couple right here between these two teams, the Hatfields and McCoys. And to me, for the Lakers, they possess the best shooter-to-score combo in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The best big man LeBron has ever played with. As for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, arguably the two best wing defenders. But not only can they lock you up, they can drop 30 on you as well. My opinion, these two teams, the cream of the Western Conference. Kevin, it's time to let's get it restarted, my friend.
Okay. So that was the clip heading into the last topic. So, of course, in our last topic then, we're going to talk about should the Clippers win in Game 7 against the Nuggets. We'll have a matchup where it'll be the Clippers versus the Lakers. So I'll give each of you a minute, and we'll go ahead and start with Freddie Henderson on this one.
All right, I'm sorry. It got to be more than a minute, Ace, because this is going to take me a little bit to get warmed up. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Yep. All right, that's fine. I'll give you a couple minutes. That's fine. Okay, so who will win out of the Lakers and the Clippers?
First, let's rewind this season back a year ago. Because, Chris, I already know where I'm going with this. Kawhi Leonard is one lucky dude. This dude took a Toronto Raptors team to the finals. He won, okay? But let's not forget, he got assisted. If Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson was not out, they probably would have got swept.
You got back at it before that when he had that shot against Philly. That went in overtime. Philly was going to win. But it's going. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just had to say that.
So, the dude got assisted in the last postseason, so he got a championship. Okay, he comes to L.A. He brings Paul George. Did you see the commercial? He's bragging, had a little crown dangling on the keychain, talking about it's his city and everything. And everybody's raving about how this dude is the best player in L.A., how this dude is the best player in the game. They obviously forgot about LeBron James. They keep downing LeBron James. We tied it up. It was 2-2 in the season. So now let's go to the next round. If the Clippers beat the Nuggets, which I think they'll beat the Nuggets. You have LeBron James and Anthony Davis going against Kawhi and Paul George. I believe it's a mixed match because just like this series, nobody on the Clippers can match up with Anthony Davis. See, this Clipper team was built to throw bodies at LeBron James. It was not built to stop Anthony Davis. You have a lot of bodies you can throw at a LeBron James. You have a Kawhi Leonard, a Paul George, a Patrick Beverly, a Marcus Morris. You have bodies you can throw at LeBron James, but who's guarding Anthony Davis? Like Visa Zubac, Montrezl Harrell. I'm sorry. This dude, Anthony Davis, need to go with the mindset of dominating the paint, barbecue chicken, be a man against boys. If he do that, then LeBron, because we know LeBron is going to do what LeBron does. People want to say Kawhi Leonard slows him down. He still averages his numbers. He still averages his numbers against Kawhi Leonard. So we know what LeBron going to do. It all depends on what we get out of Anthony Davis. Not just Anthony Davis. We need this Rajon Rondo, the third star on this Laker team that has emerged to be the same guy against the series as well, to get a Danny Green, a KCP, a Kyle Kuzma involved. I believe the Lakers will win it in 7.
All right, so I'll go to Justin, and I'll give you a couple minutes on this one to say whatever you got to say for the Lakers and Clippers. Should the Clippers beat the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, a dynamite series like everybody knows it will be. It's going to be really a battle of who wants it more, man. I think both teams are evenly matched, but they both have different advantages and disadvantages. Like you said, AD definitely has to be a man amongst boys. He definitely needs to get down in the paint. But it's interesting to see. I'm watching to see what kind of adjustments Vogel will make, because is he going to continue with this small ball? It's not really small ball, but it's just using Anthony Davis at the 5, really, which I personally think is their best matchup. But I need to see who's going to step up for the Lakers. Hopefully, we'll see Kuz maybe give a strong 15 a night. I think he's going to need to get something like that. And on the Clippers side, they got a bunch of dogs over there, and I think they're going to come ready to play. We're going to see how Kawhi does against LeBron. I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup, of course. We know Kawhi gives LeBron the business every time, especially in that mid-range. But we're going to see, man. I personally, it's tough for me. From what I'm seeing, originally coming into the bubble, I had the Clippers, but I'm not going to lie. But seeing how both teams have been playing, I'm actually going to lean more towards the Lakers in this series. And I think it's going to go 7. So I'm gonna go with the Lakers in 7, man, me personally.
All right, Chris Brown.
Mine's gonna be short and simple. Not to be that guy, but like I said before, I don't even think the Nuggets are getting out this round. I have the Nuggets in 7, and that's how I'll say. But if the Clippers win, the Lakers are going to win that series. If the Clippers get out this round, I think the Lakers are the better defensive team. They can still lock in on offense, and they got the best 2 stars in LeBron and AD. Like Freddie said, nobody's gonna be able to touch AD. They have everybody, try to stop LeBron. They can try. You're not going to stop LeBron. You can slow him down, but they have nobody to slow down or stop AD. But he has to come out and be the aggressive one. I think he has to come out and shoot at least 14 to 15 free throws a night. That's how I'm gonna know if he was really aggressive. Not settle for jumpers all the time. Even though you're a good jump shot shooter, when you shoot those jumpers, you're kind of bailing out the defense. You getting in that paint, that's going to hurt them. So if, the Lakers want to win, Anthony Davis has to be that guy. He has to be the main guy for this team.
All right. Now, Jay McLovin.
All right. Hey, look, number one, there's no way in hell. I don't care what the Nuggets that they got and Murray or Nokic or whatever the hell else they got on their team. They're irrelevant. They played good up to this point. I give them credit, blah, blah, blah. Clippers taking this. Clippers are going to take it. We all know it. It's going to happen. The key component to this is going to be only what I think it will be, and that is, can the Clippers, Paul George, show up and show out when they play the Lakers? It's going to be a Lakers-Clippers finale. We all know it. We all understand it. We know it's going to happen. I predict Boston's going to be in this finals. I don't think Miami's going to take out Boston for one freaking minute. I think Boston's going to rise to the challenge, and they're going to do what they do. The question is going to be, who will they face, the Lakers or the Clippers? And the Lakers have not truly really been challenged as of yet. The Rockets gave them a small spurt. But like we all know, like it has been said in the past, LeBron, he'll fill out the competition, blah, and then he'll come back. Well, let me tell you something. That only works for so long. Either the Clippers and the bench and everything that they bring to the table in Montrezl, he better not fill him out. He better not. He better come with everything he's got, night in, night out, because the Clippers are coming. And the Clippers are going to give them the battle in which they need. They've got all the positions. They've got the paint in which they controlled against the Rockets. They've got the perimeter shooting. They got the leadership. Kawhi's no joke. He's won it before. He'll win it again. And it's going to happen. And my prediction, and I don't want it to happen, but my prediction, if I'm being unbiased, in which I am, because I don't have a vestige in any of these teams, is the Clippers versus the Boston Celtics. If I'm being real. What I want to see, though, and my personal belief, is I want to see some old school crap. I want to see an old school rivalry go at it. I want it to be the Lakers, and I want it to be the Celtics, and I want to remember back to the days of Magic, Bird, McHale, Worthy, Lou Alcindor, although we know him as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, and so forth. Pat Riley versus AC Green, baby. I want that. If the Rockets aren't going to be there, I want the old school throwback, and I hope they give it to me. But in theory, before that can happen, the Lakers are going to have to come out for real in all aspects, because Morris on the Clippers side is going to bring his game as well as the rest of the Clippers, and they're no joke. They don't have 2 6-man of the year for nothing, and Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. So Let me tell you something. I think the Clippers are well balanced on the bench in depth. We'll see what happens. That's my take.
All right. So now I'll go ahead and each give you guys 30 seconds for your final thoughts, and we'll go ahead and we'll start with Freddie. You get 30 seconds to say whatever it is you got to say.
All right, first off, Jay McLevin, I want to thank you for taking a slice out of the humble pie today. And thank you for joining the show. Justin, I want to thank you for joining the show. It was an honor talking basketball with you. Somebody's very knowledgeable about the sport. You guys catch us tomorrow as we'll have a post-game show first thing in the morning. Catch Nate, David, and Samuel first thing in the morning, and catch me and Chris tomorrow night as we break down the nightcaps.
All right, Justin, you got 30 seconds.
Fellas, man, I want to say, man, appreciate y'all. Appreciate the invite. It was nice talking hoops with y'all. All very knowledgeable brothers. So just want to say appreciate the invite, man. And let's we gonna see what's gonna happen in this conference finals, man. It's gonna be something.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chris Brown, you got 30 seconds.
LeBron is still the best player in the league. I think he's shown that this series. I don't think nobody's even close to him right now. I do think he will come out the Western Conference, and I still have Miami coming out the Eastern Conference. You know, you got storylines of LeBron going against his old team. That doesn't matter because they're going to be out in 5. Lakers in 5. They're winning the chip. They did it for Kobe, and LeBron's going to become the GOAT.
All right, we'll go to Jay McLovin. You got 30 seconds.
Hey, last time I checked, the championship still goes to Kawhi Leonard, who is the best of the game because he has the current ship. No matter what they say, Braun, great as he may have been, he has been. He's in the past. Ship still froze through Kawhi Leonard, no matter where he's at. End of story, case closed, bar none.
You just said he wanted the Lakers in the finals, though.
You shut your damn mouth.
What's the guy talking about, man? What's this guy?
You shut your damn mouth. You had your turn down. Shut your mouth.
Man.
I'll come over there and slap you in the mouth like your mama should have 10 years ago when you were in 3rd grade. Listen, guys. Hey, for real.
Takes like he switches his underwear.
Yeah, shut your mouth, Henderson, or I won't come up here again. Hey, listen. Thank you for having me on. I represent Whiskey Hour on Game Changer Sports Network, Tuesdays, 7 to 8. Appreciate you. Love you. Chris Brown, I love you. I appreciate everything you bring into the table. Justin, thank you, man. You're a smart, intelligent young man. And our moderator, you're the bomb diggity, no doubt. You give me most leeway on most of the rules we've had tonight. And Freddie Henderson, bruh, I love you. Love freaking you, baby. Love you.
Yes, all right, and I am Ace from the West Coast, and I want to thank J-Mac, or I should say Jay McLovin. It's been a pleasure like always, man. And thank you for coming back on the show. Hey, Justin, it was great meeting you. You're a really intelligent guy, and thank you for coming on the show. It was great. Thank you, Freddie, and thank you, Chris. And I hope everybody had a great time, and we'll see you next time. Night.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, the things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. You, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.